Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be working on an oil painting. I haven't been able to do oil painting in about a year now. I've been waiting until it gets a bit more warm and just waiting until I can open up the windows again. Since it's been a while since my last oil painting, my thought was to probably just work on something that I basically abandoned last year. This is a painting that I started based on a cat I saw in Kamakura on my first trip to Japan, and I'm just gonna try and finish it this time. And what I'm doing right now is I need to clean off my paint palette because this paint has been here for, I think the last time I painted was back in August of last year. And so I'm trying my best to get it all off. My solvent can just wouldn't open, and then I was having such a hard time getting any of this paint off. It was just horrible, and I muted my audio here just because of how horrible the sound was. Luckily, I remembered to write down all the colors of the paints I used on the painting last time I worked on it. And so right now I'm just trying to open up all my tubes, and since it's been a while and they've kind of been sitting close to the sun, they're a bit hard to open up, so I had to get my my pliers to help me. I try to keep a pretty primary color palette, and so I have just 2 reds, 2 yellows, and just 1 blue this time. And so the colors I'm using are alizarin crimson, cadmium red, medium, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, medium, and titanium white. It's always a bit of a struggle for me to get back into oil painting, especially when it's been so long. I think this may have been the longest oil painting drought that I've had since probably college. I just haven't had too much time to work on oil paintings, and I've been more focused on doing gouache during that time. But the biggest thing that makes it difficult is just how hungry the canvas can be for oils, especially like this one. It's been sitting for well over a year, and I could just feel the oil paint start to like seep into the canvas. It's just very different working wet on dry at the very beginning stages for me. I'm used to working a bit more wet on wet with oils. But yeah, it's always just very interesting jumping back into oil paint right after working mostly on gouache. I realized very early on that I've actually forgotten how to oil paint. At the beginning, I was putting a lot of pressure on my brush when I was applying the paint to the canvas, basically like scrubbing it in, and I was wondering why it was just spreading around way too thin. And eventually, once I got more of the painting wet, I remembered that I'm supposed to have a lighter touch so that things don't blend together and get all muddy. I have a lot of abandoned paintings throughout my house that are very similar to this one. I remember I gave up on this one a while back because I didn't know how to paint the like greenery in the background, and I also didn't want to paint the stones that the cat was on. I felt like that was going to be way too intimidating, and so it's actually interesting that I decided to have this be my very first painting back into oil painting, just because of how challenging I found it before. But I think working on all those gouache paintings that I've been doing over the past year, and having most of them be about landscapes and just being a bit more illustrative with my gouache, I feel like that helped me a bit more with my oil painting, where I don't have to be as, I guess, realistic in a sense. Also, here's Mochi. I don't understand how she sleeps sometimes. But yeah, this painting, I remember just being very intimidated with the greenery in the background and especially the stones. I don't know why, but when I was first trying to paint this, I was very concerned about the color of the stone path, and I just couldn't get it to match what I saw in the picture that I had. And for some reason, that just like turned me off completely from ever trying to finish this painting. And so I guess it was a good idea to just wait a year, basically, and just try again. And I said this a little bit earlier on in the video, but this painting is based off of a picture I took of a cat that I saw in Kamakura. It was a very sweet cat. He let me come up and pet him a bunch of times, and he let a bunch of other strangers come up and pet him, and I got a bunch of really good pictures of him. That's when I actually brought my nice camera out of the country. But yeah, I got a lot of really good photographs of him, and I've been just wanting to paint something of him for such a long time. But the problem was I was just not good at doing anything with nature. And so I can do cats usually, but having like greenery or anything in the background was just not something for me. Mochi also seems very happy that I'm oil painting again. She loves sitting with me whenever I'm in the sunroom, and she just wants me to open up the windows most of the time. But she would just beg for me to be in here so that she could lay in the sun with me. I guess this was her way of bonding. I don't know, but she just seems so much happier now that I'm doing this again. My biggest goal was to take my time with this painting, but also make sure that I'm not getting things too muddy. Just because it's been quite a bit of time, I didn't want to have, too big of goals and then feel a bit down because I couldn't get to the spot where I was a year ago with oil painting. So it's just nice to have something a little bit easy for me to just jump back into. And I think the fact that this was already a half started painting kind of helped, because then I only spent, half the time finishing it. This painting took about a couple days for me to finish up, just because I could only work on it after work or, on the weekends. Yeah, I think it only took a couple days. I want to say maybe 4 days of just on and off painting. I am a very, very slow oil painter. Back in college which was the first time I've actually touched oils. I would spend a lot longer in the studio than anyone else just because I was so slow at it. I remember especially during my senior year, I was in the studio until like 11 p.m. most nights, just because I really enjoyed being in the art studio, but also just because I couldn't be as fast as everyone else. I don't know how people were able to just pump out paintings so quickly. It took me forever to get something done. Like, I would start a painting session during class, and I would look over after like 30 minutes, and my friend would have already had pretty much her entire canvas already done, have a perfect paint palette already set up, everything in rainbow, everything in perfect order, and you look at my palette and it's just a mess. Just paint thrown everywhere. I don't have anything in color families, or I'm just mixing everything together. I'm just throwing paint on, but I'm not throwing enough on, and it was just crazy how people could get everything else done so quickly. But yeah, I don't get how people were able to get their paintings done so quickly. I'm just a very slow painter, and that's okay. I'm so glad to have my own studio space in my own home now. After I got out of college, it was a bit hard to paint just because I didn't have a specific spot where I could, and being in a enclosed environment with paint fumes around, the place you live, it can get really bad for you. Um, I became very sensitive to the solvent that I use to clean my brushes at that point, and just being able to move to a place that had a sunroom and has enough room where I can actually paint and the fumes go up because I have a bit higher ceilings here. It's just a lot nicer, and especially being able to open the windows here, that's a huge plus. The one biggest downside for me is I really miss being around other people while I paint, especially like other people that are artists. It was just really nice being able to learn from other people, see how they work on their paintings, what they think looks right, and how I can apply what they're doing to something I'm doing. As much as I love having my own art studio, I really want to be able to meet other artists again and just learn from them, be able to interact with other people that are creative like me. So I'm hoping once my work gets a bit less busy, hopefully during the summer, that I'll be able to go out and meet other local artists again. Right now you can see that I'm using the palette knife and I'm trying to apply the whiskers to the cat's face. This is probably my favorite technique on how to add whiskers and details, especially the pet portraits, but it just wasn't happening right now, and I think it's because the bottom layer is a bit too wet for that. I usually wait until after the painting is pretty much dry to do that, just in case if I make any mistakes, I can just easily wipe it off. And I'm adding a little bit of brushstrokes to the greenery. Again, it's not the best that I could do, but it's good for a first jump back into oil painting. This made me very excited to keep going on and doing more oil painting in the future. I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't really comfortable getting back into it, and I was a bit intimidated, and I shouldn't be, just because like oil painting is something I really love to do, and I kind of forgot about that along the way because I was really interested in gouache, and I'm still gonna do gouache, but just being able to work on this and just being able to take things slow and not have to rush things through, I don't know, it just made me fall back in love with the medium again, and I can't wait to work on more paintings in the future. I already have a bunch planned. I also just realized that I never explained this, but this painting is done on a loose canvas that is taped to another canvas. I just had a bunch of loose canvas hanging around. I think I had this actual strip of canvas since high school, and I just wanted to put it to use, and so here we go. And that's the final painting. I really hope that you liked watching this video. I am super excited to get back into oils, and I hope to make more videos about it soon. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!